Hello, everybody, and welcome back to day 2 of our second qualifier, brought to you by Ultra Pro. And yeah, Martin, yesterday was a great day in my opinion. I think the stream went pretty well, and we had some pretty interesting players on stream. Um, yeah, we had a look at the data through the conversion of day 1. So Malamal Mewtwo had a huge spike in success. Then something that a lot of players would are probably happy about is that we had much less mill, or at least mill was much less successful than last time. So I guess that's something that people enjoyed a lot. But do you have anything that personally very very hyped about seeing in day 2, or is there something that you think is most interesting?
I think first of all, yesterday was great. I had a great time. Was really nice watching all of those great players on stream again and getting to cast them. And I'm super hyped for day 2 as well. And I'm especially excited for some of the rogue decks we might see. Like when you go to regionals, right? You also have your rogue not so popular decks that maybe make day 2 or something, but they usually don't do so well. But since we this time have it we have it so the players get matched basically based on their day 2 record. We can see some rogue decks maybe also play on the top tables, and we will maybe be able to see some of the more unusual decks on stream, and I'm super hyped for some of those. There's some green Thrashizard, there's a Granbull, I saw some rumors about Alolan Executor decks, and also we had some BEM yesterday. So there were some decks that really strive in are able to do well, hold their own against the top decks, and really nice to watch.
I saw that someone even made it to day 2 with Salazzle Mill, so I'm curious to see maybe that's the next evolution of Mill. It went from Chinchino to Mekago and now maybe to Salazzle, so that would be crazy to see. Also, I saw that Benjamin Pham made it to day 2 with Mekago with a thick Alolan Persian line, so that would be something that I would be looking forward to see. And of course, one deck that's also, well, it has been Rogue until recently, and not by now we can almost call it a meta deck, because it has done so well at our last qualifier and is dominating so much, it's doing so well again at this qualifier. It's Ross Cawthon's and Mike Foucher's, I believe, yeah, or Michael Foucher, ADP Spiritomb deck. And it had some great success. Ross made top 4 with it, and this time Ross and Michael both won their respective pools with it. And a lot of other players also made it into day 2. And
I believe it's the third most represented deck right now in the day 2 metagame, so people are definitely picking up on it and seeing their strength. And if you win your pool, right, you're in a great position to advance to top 8 and get also important points going forward.
Yeah, so at this point, I guess we can't even really call it a rogue deck anymore. It probably has its place in the meta by now.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
And that's why for the first round we also picked Ross Cawthon, one of our featured players who's done amazing in the last 2 tournaments and is now trying to secure his spot in top 8. He's going in with a record of 11-2, so something like a 5-2 would put him easily into top 8. Maybe even a 4-3 record would be enough. And even if he misses top 8, he would still be in a great position to make to get an invite for the Limitless Invitational, because there has been roughly more than 30 players that made day 2 at both events, but Ross hasn't only made day 2, he also made really good finishes. So 1 top 4 and what's looking to be another great finish.
Yeah, and I believe his opponent is playing one of the rogue decks. It's Jacob Mallender from the UK, and he's playing a variant of Green's Reshizard. So we saw that deck, we heard about that deck a little bit. It did quite well at the last Invitational. There was one senior from Germany who did quite well with the deck, and once again we have one in day 2. So the deck is, as you see, the deck is quite fine. It can obviously beat the popular matchups, but it's not as strong, not as popular, and definitely I think ADP Spiritomb packs more inherent strength, and maybe Green's Reshizard has to rely a little bit more on being disruptive and relying on that good old stamp power plant combination to shut their opponents out of the game.
For sure, and it will be interesting to see how well equipped it is to deal with this ADP Spiritomb deck. I would assume that usually you kinda bet on hitting ADP hitting Zacian for weakness. So have this having Spiritomb as main attacker instead of Zacian, something that's way easier to power up, something that only gives up one price, might actually be quite the advantage compared to ADP Zacian in this matchup.
Yeah, and also quite an interesting dynamic. Like last time we were really excited about Ross playing the big charm for the Spiritomb because they can pile up extra damage counter and deal extra damage that way. Now the big charm comes in handy for the ADP, increasing its HP by 30, putting it at 310 HP. So yeah, Charizard's Double Blaze Jax take with 6 energy only, quote unquote, deals 300 damage. And if there's no extra damage on the ADP, for example, from a Shrine of Punishment, then it would be able to tank that hit with 10 HP. So
Yep.
yeah, we see Ross, he already got the energy attachment down turn 1, just what you want to see in the opening hit, ADP, energy. Now probably looking for a switching card to get into the active and fire off that altered creation Jax, and already put a lot of pressure onto Jacob to really find an answer right there. I mean, there's 3 energy, but you will need to combine that with I believe, a Shrine of Punishment of your own if
Yep.
Jacob plays that. His list is full of one-offs, so I would have to take a closer look at that.
And an interesting option from Ross here is to discard his Jinx. It seems like he is opting to reduce the amount of Jinx that he's using. One reason for that might be that he's seeing that unidentified fossil on his opponent's board, so he might be scared of the item lock, opting to reduce the amount of Pokemon he's benching to keep it as low as possible, and to make sure that he can use items still even into the mid game. And
yeah, the 101 almost does something we have seen in green stakes time and time again, and it's just so strong if you're able to shut your opponents off those item cards, because that means your opponent can't map out their prizes in the way they want to, because all the gust we have access to is based on item cards, and if you can dictate how many prizes your opponents takes, then your stamps become so much more powerful.
yep, and now Ross getting himself ready to use his altered creation, so a great start for him. He also got a Spiritomb by now. Yeah, he will have some more trouble powering up his Spiritombs this game, because it looks like he's opting to forgo those Jinx and the Shrine of Punishments, and a huge part of his deck is to use Shrine of Punishments to soften up your opponent's Pokemon while using it to your own advantage by moving the damage with Jinx to your Spiritombs and that accelerating your deck. So going for a slower approach here will be interesting to see how it works out for us, if it comes to bite him or if that's fine.
Yeah, I think Jacob has to hit into the ADP. Like, if you're forced to two-shot the ADP and they get the ultimate ray off and go down to 4 prizes after just knocking out the Volcanion, then they put themselves in a position where the only thing they have to knock out is that Reshiram Charizard on the bench, which is also the only thing that's powered up and able to try to combat Ross's board right now. So Jacob will be put in a really tricky situation where he's either forced to constantly heal his Reshizard so it doesn't get knocked out, or find another way to deal with Ross's Spiritombs.
And now Ross going for Jinx after all, healing his ADP a little bit and powering up with Spiritomb. Also found himself a catcher, so he could use that to maybe target the fossil, but instead he's valuing the attacker more, which makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, just thinning out the last remaining energies with the Ultimate Ray. They aren't going to be as valuable for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Might as well put them on the Jirachi.
Yeah, especially now that his other ADP is gone in the discard pile as well. He's basically nothing that... He's literally nothing that can use those energies, I guess.
Except Jirachi.
Yeah.
And Slap, right? I guess. But yeah, you're totally right. Yeah, probably, yeah, now we're going to see the Reshizard swing, but you have to, like, if you knock out the Spiritomb here, you have to still manage, well, you have to deal with 3 Spiritombs that will come down back to back. I guess it will be a little bit tough to power them up, because as you said, there's not a lot of damage in play on Ross's side of the field, but still, with the damage modifiers, like Rainbow Energy and Jinx and Hustle Belt, you're able to achieve really scary numbers in a really, really short amount of time.
Yep. But Ross definitely needs to find some Spiritombs, and if Jacob is able to set up an Oma Star, that could really be helpful here, just to prevent Ross from using those powerful tools and make it harder for him to get switching cards and to get Spiritombs into play. Also, he had to use his Welder on the Reshizard, which is probably not his preferred target for it, because he didn't need his GX attack, so he already had plenty of energies, and he will probably not need those energies on the Reshizard anymore, but he just didn't have any other Pokemon to Welder to.
Yeah, that's true. There we see the Shrine of Punishment from Ross. I think finally he's going to put it into play, because now your ADP is down anyway. You don't need the perfect math with the 310 HP. And now the Spiritomb will swing for a scary, scary amount of damage.
Yeah.
I believe it will deal 250 plus 10
Exactly.
with the Shrine of Punishment.
Exactly, so if Jacob's not able to replace the Shrine, the Reshizard's gonna be knocked out immediately.
Yeah, but that's not going to be the game, because the
Yeah.
extra price effect from ADP only works if the Pokemon's knocked out by damage. But still, if your opponent still has 3 price cards remaining and you only have 1 price attackers on your board and you go down to 1 price, that's a super scary situation for them.
For sure. And Ross now really debating how many Pokemon he wants on his bench, thinking about how many he can afford. But I guess at this point he might as well put down another Spiritomb, but doesn't look like it.
I mean, if you put down another Spiritomb, if you get knocked out, you don't get your items back, and if you hold it, if your Pokemon gets knocked out and your opponent gets Almost Star, and yeah, of course, if the Shrine gets replaced, then you get access to items. So, there's the replacement setting, but that's what never what you want to see in a green stake, right? Custom catcher to draw some cards. That's really scary.
Optimal. But worked out well enough as Jacob found himself a greens exploration with it.
Yeah, finally the greens coming down. So powerful, searching the deck for just 2 trainer cards if you have no abilities in play. But it takes a lot of time to set it up, and the green stacks are usually tend to be a little bit slower. And if your opponent takes extra prizes, then it gets so scary.
Yep.
But now if Ross gets just an energy and the catcher hits, he's going to be able to take out that Reshizard on the bench for the remaining 4 prizes of the game.
Yeah, the strength of ADP is so crazy, and there's already the catchers.
And if you flip stats, just like last time. Come on, Ross! Oh no!
That's really not his speciality to flip pets in most situations.
Also, the unlucky thing is that he discarded his Great Catcher earlier in the game, so that's not an option either for him.
At least he finds himself a Professor's Research here, so we'll be able to dig some more.
Yeah. I mean, he's still ahead in momentum for sure, but if you get the opportunity to close out the game on the spot...
Yeah. I mean, his opponent's down to only 2 prizes, so he's on the clock here.
Yeah, for sure.
He can take the knockout if he gets a switching card. But will that be enough? He still needs to Yeah, he taking out the Volcanion gives him 2 prizes, which doesn't do much for him, and then he can get reset stamped.
Yeah, that's
So
not.
yeah, so it doesn't help him too much.
Yeah, I would debate whether you even would go for it here. I mean, depends on what your price cuts are, right? If there's something you want in your prizes.
Yeah, but I think it makes sense still because Jacob has already used a couple of welders, and yeah, I think
Yeah, maybe he's not able to power up his
exactly.
other Reshizard on the bench.
So being forced to attack with a damaged one would of course be great for Ross.
Now we
And
see
yeah,
the multiple Jinx coming down, being able to like set up that 4 or 5 damage counter on a Spiritomb in one turn if that's
yep.
necessary.
Oh, also if you take the knockout here, finding a Shrine of Punishments in the next turn will also be an out for the game. As it
Yeah,
would,
that's true. That's true because it puts 1 damage counter and you take 3 prizes, right?
yeah, exactly.
Then you don't need to gust.
Yep, so here Ross taking the knockout, and now he's only 1 Gust or 1 Shrine of Punishments away from winning. However, Jacob is now in a position where he has a lot of cards in his hand. So if he's able to power up his new Reshizard and get a reset stamp, best case also pair it with an Omastar, that would be amazing for him.
Yeah, if the Master would be able to calm down, like that's one of the great strengths, right? The ability to disrupt your opponent in the way that they're locked out of item cards.
Yep.
I mean, those the ADP decks rely on item cards like switches and quick balls so heavily, even in the later game.
If he's also able to find, if he's just able to find Omastar, a new attacker, power up his new Reshizard, find the Omastar and get a big charm, that would also just give him the game like that. The reset stamp isn't even necessarily important if he can get the Omastar to prevent gusting.
Oh no, there's the shrine in Ross's hand. That's a bit scary. Now, yeah, Jacob has to go for. I mean, he doesn't know, but he has to go for a big charm right there. And
Yep.
I'm currently not seeing one in his list. Maybe he doesn't play any, but that would be surprising to me.
Oh yeah, that's certainly surprising. I didn't even take a look at this list because we jumped into the game relatively quickly.
There's like a bunch of one-offs, so it's kind of hard, but I don't see it. I don't see Giant Charm right there.
That's very
So-
interesting. So yeah, that might be an easy game. So that might mean that with Shrine of Punishment is exactly what Ross needs for the game.
Yeah, and Jacob isn't even
Yeah.
able to power up another attacker, so
Yeah, the
Ross
energy does it as well. I would just take the knockout with Slap here for the style points. And
oh,
yeah,
and Jacob's scoops.
Jacob's scoops
yeah.
in time to prevent it. And yeah, but a convincing victory for Ross once again. Jacob wasn't able to stabilize in time. Maybe if he could have gotten like the big charm, which he didn't play, but if he had a big charm, then
Yeah, that was certainly an out.
that would have that could have helped
But-
him as well. Yeah.
I feel like when you play those green stakes, right, you need so much all the time, and greens can only get you 2 cards, and it feels like you are always in need for more cards, but you also want to grab a greens with your supporter. And the game has just become so fast with the ADP GX attack accelerating the speed at which price trades happen, that you can't really afford to just spend some turns getting resources with the greens and maybe going for a second flare start or something. You have to go on the on the offensive side instantly when you play green stack, and that's
Yeah, and
a lot of
another
times
deck.
that feels suboptimal.
Yeah, and another deck fell victim to that great strength of ADP's GX attack, auto creation. Just usually the math was so good where you had to force your opponent into taking knockouts on 2 tag teams and 2 Volcanion with this deck, and now it's just like, yeah, 1 Volcanion, 1 tag team, that's it.
Yeah, I'm
GG.
going to just take 2 prizes and 2 turns, and then 2
Yep.
knockouts and 2 turns, and then the game is over.
Yeah, so the price math just works out so much worse for this deck now that ADP is a thing, and yeah, it just fell victim to the strength of it, getting overwhelmed by it not stabilizing in time, and then attempting a comeback. It could have worked out. I mean, Ross got item locked and only had 3 cards had 3 cards available to him. But of course,
Yes.
Jacob's board was not too great. So Ross had a lot of outs, an energy, a shrine, a supporter. All of those things could have just given him the game.
Yeah, there weren't many cards left in Ross, many dead cards left in Ross's deck either. So
Yeah, so
really well played by him. So we saw the strength of his deck coming through again, being able to power up a powerful attacker in just one turn. Needing way less resources than his Asian, so really good.
That means that Ross moves on to a 12-2 record. Amazing score, putting himself in a great position. I'm certainly happy to see him do well. It's such an interesting deck, and actually the deck is even kind of similar to what Ross used to make finals at Worlds, because especially yesterday when we saw him play a ADP Spiritomb Mirror, it really felt like he managed his damage counters so well with those multiple jinx and moved them around his Pokemon and got himself into a position where his ADP was safe from a one-shot while he could one-shot his opponents easily. So even where he accidentally discarded a Rainbow Energy, he was still in a great position. And yeah, he did make finals at Worlds with a Reuniclus deck that also moved around damage counters on your Pokemon and where you always had to look where to like put your damage counters to not be in danger. And yeah, so pretty similar.
Yeah, Ross is certainly the master of moving damage counters around, right?
Yeah, so I think it's really cool to see him do well with a deck that's so fitting for him. That's like, yeah, that's reminiscent of his past creations. So shoutouts to him. I hope you enjoyed this round. We will go to a quick break and we'll return with round number 15.